Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Susan Lopresti Wellness, Mind, Body, and Soul, the podcast where we explore the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to a woman's life, her health, and all aspects of navigating the midlife landscape. I'm your host, Susan Lopresti, and today I want to come on and I want to talk about myself, and I also want you to get to know me a little bit better because many of you know me as a podcaster. But I am much more than just a podcaster. I don't know if you realize this, but I am also a health coach and a Reiki and meditation practitioner. So I just want to give you a little bit of background information about me, who I am, what I'm all about. So I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and probably you can hear that in my voice. And whether I'm proud of it or not, it is what it is. I have tried to get rid of my Brooklyn, New York accent, but at this point in my life, it's a part of who I am, and it's what makes me me. But I will go back and start by telling you that even though in the early years of my life, I had no interest in being a health coach or even knew anything about Reiki and very little about meditation, but I did always have a very special interest in health and wellness. And that began when I was in college, and I was about 19 years old at the time, where I was signing up for a gym class. And all of the classes that I wanted to fit into my schedule were not available. So I was left with two choices, and I needed two gym classes in order to graduate. So the two classes that were available was a modern dance class and also a yoga class. Now, modern dance, I always went to dance class when I was younger, and even in my teens, I was still dancing. But I had heard of yoga, but had no idea what it was all about. And I will tell you that Mrs. Keating was my yoga instructor in college, and she was up there in age. I want to say she was pushing 70. And it was incredible to me, the positions that she was able to get herself into at her age. And I, being 19, was struggling to, get into those poses that she had no problem getting into. Well, I ended up absolutely loving yoga, loving the whole concept of it, loving the fact that we meditated each time that I went to class, and I saw a difference in that as well. And so yoga has been a part of my life since I'm 19 years old, and I'm soon going to be 65. So you could do the math. I don't want to. But so that was one college that I was going to, which was a community college. It was a 2-year college. And then I really was just majoring in liberal arts. And then I decided that I wanted to go into fashion. So I left that college and I transferred to FIT, which is the Fashion Institute of Technology that is in New York City. And I went for fashion buying and merchandising. And then I also studied fashion and design. And so I was really into that. I always loved fashion, and it was perfect for me, right? I loved it. So I graduated FIT and I worked in the fashion industry for 14 years. And I did everything. I was in production, I was in fashion and design. I was in merchandising. Then I was in sales. I was a showroom manager. I worked for a lot of great companies that are very well known. I worked for Aris Isotona, which is the glove and slipper company. I worked for Totes, the umbrella company. I worked for a bridal house, Desi Creations, for many years. And I just really jumped around. I worked for Don Kenny. I worked for Ann's Closet. Then I moved over to retail. And if you're here in New York, you know of Century 21 department stores. I worked for them. I was a buyer for lingerie and also hosiery for Century 21. So I really got around in the fashion industry and I absolutely loved it. And I continued after I got married as well. I stayed in that industry up until I had a baby. And being in the fashion industry and being a new mom was really, really difficult. It was a very, very difficult thing because I traveled a lot. I worked late. I worked a lot of holidays. I would be in the retail stores on Christmas Eve, and all of the holidays. And so I realized after my daughter was born that something had to give. And that's when I went into corporate America. And the thing about corporate America, I worked for, it's now called Paramount, but when I started, it was called Viacom. And Viacom has MTV, Nickelodeon, VH1. It was a wonderful, wonderful company to work for. But I was in corporate, and corporate to me was a stifling position where I had no sense of autonomy or creativity. And it was very analytical and it was very regimented. And it really did not align at all of who I am and who I was back then. But it was a paycheck, it was a steady job, and it helped to keep a roof over my head and helped to provide for my daughter. So I stayed there. I made beautiful friendships that continue till today. They're some of the greatest women. We were a really tight-knit group of women who shared a lot of commonality. We were all working moms. We were all married. We all had challenges and desires and issues, and we just were a perfect team of women. And that's what kept me at that job for 27 years. Now, about 7 years before I left there, I started thinking about what I wanted to do. I was getting older. My daughter was now older and more on her own. And so I could start looking at career options again that could take me away from my home and not have to run out at 5 o'clock because now my daughter was more on her own. And I didn't want to go back to the fashion industry because over the years, when I was in corporate, the fashion industry in New York changed drastically. And a lot of work that used to be done in New York was now being done overseas in China and other countries. And so it was a changed industry. And because I always had this love for health and wellness, I decided that I was going to be a health coach. And so I studied health coaching and I went through a year's program and I got certified as a health coach. And I really wasn't doing anything with it as far as building a business because I was still working corporate America, but I had it in my back pocket. And I knew that at some point in my life, I was going to give up corporate America and I would want to do something else. And I truly felt that health coaching was the right fit for me. Because, like I said, at 19 years old, I was introduced to yoga, and I continue until today to practice yoga almost on a daily basis. I either do a short routine like a vinyasa flow in my house in the morning, or I'll go to a studio, or I'll do something online. But I continue to move my body with yoga almost every single day, 6 days a week, let's say. So that was where I was aligned. I was also now very big into running. I was an avid runner from when I was 30 up until 55. And when my back started to give out, and my doctor said, it's time to hang up your running sneakers and take up walking. And he said, believe me, Susan, you will get the same benefits from walking that you do from running, but it's easier on your body. And for the most part, it is true. But I used to get like a runner's high from running, and I don't quite get that from walking, but it's fine. I'm soon to be 65. So anyway, during that whole time when I was at corporate America and I was married, my marriage was failing, and we decided together that it would be best if we split up. So we got divorced. We remained really good friends. We're still good friends to today. So it is possible to fall out of love with someone and not really always like them, but still have that connection, because I met him when I was 21, and he's my daughter's father and he's my family. But we couldn't live together any longer. And, people change, and he changed and I changed, and we just didn't mesh as well as we used to. So at that point in time, I wasn't sure, like, do I want to look for another relationship? Would I be interested in another relationship? And I was happy being alone. I was happy being alone, and I reconnected with a lot of my friends that I grew up with in Brooklyn, because when I got married, I moved out of Brooklyn and I moved to Queens, to Bayside, and I still live in Bayside today. And I made all new friends in Bayside. But when I got divorced, I started reconnecting with my grammar school friends and my high school friends. And so now my network of friends had opened up tremendously. And so anyway, to get back to where my life was going to go, I was unsure. And I don't know if a lot of you believe in psychic mediums or anything like that, but I do. And so I started to see some psychics and mediums, and to try to get some answers to some of my unknown questions. And I went to a hotel. There was a health fair going on in a hotel in Long Island, New York. And I went there, and there were all these psychic mediums, and you sign up, and it was a short session. I think it was about 30 minutes that you got with a psychic for $30. And you didn't get to choose which psychic you went to. You just, like, whoever was next was who you would get. So I'm waiting in line, and the woman who was manning the line said, okay, you're going to see Megan. I said, okay. So I walk over to Megan's table and I said, hi, I'm Susan. She said, hi, I'm Megan. She said, when you were walking over to me, this song came in my head. And I said, oh, really? What song was that? And she said, it was, hey, sister soul, sister soul, sister. She goes, you know that song? And I said, yeah, of course I do. She said, yeah, it was kind of weird because, you know, yeah, I feel like, why would I have that song in my head? Maybe there's a connection between the two of us. And I said, maybe. Anyway, I sat down and she asked me, so what's going on? And I said, well, in the process of getting divorced, I wasn't even divorced at the time. And I said, and my ex-husband is with somebody else already, and I'm not with anyone, and I'm just unsure of what it is. Do I want to be with someone? Should I be like doing dating websites, or should I just live my life? I just don't know what direction I want to go. And I'm also in a position at my company where I love the company and I love the people that I work with, but I hate the work that I do. It really doesn't align with who I am. And so she said, let me feel your hands. So I laid my hands out to her. And she said, have you ever considered being a Reiki practitioner or a polarity practitioner? And I said, no. And she said, you have a lot of energy in your hands. And she goes, I think I understand why that song came into my head when it did. She said, because I feel like you are a soul sister. And I feel like you should study energy healing, and that should be your calling. And she says, and the other message that I'm getting for you is that you want to help people and you want to direct people on the right path. But the problem is that you are trying to help people who are not looking for help. They don't think that they need help. They don't think that they want help. And so what you need to do is you need to find people who actually are looking for what you have to offer, and stop looking in the wrong places, like perhaps your husband. And when she said that, she hit the nail so perfectly on the head, because that's exactly what I was always trying to do with my ex-husband, is to fix him, is to heal him. And I don't want to get into his story because it's not my story to tell, but it was a perfect eye-opening experience for me to realize, yes, that is my issue. I am always trying to help people who are not asking for my help. But in my eyes, I saw that they needed help, but they didn't want it. So that changed everything about where I was going and what I wanted to do. And let me continue with Megan for a second. Anyway, so the 30 minutes was up, and I said to her, so where could I come to have another session with you? And she said, well, I live far out on Long Island, and I don't know if you want to travel that far. And I said, well, my mom lives in Long Island, so I'm familiar with Long Island. And she goes, well, I live in a small community in Long Island that's called San Remo. And I said, San Remo? San Remo in Kings Park? And she said, yes. Do you know it? I said, yes. My mother lives in San Remo. She lives on Riviera Drive. And she said, well, I live right off of Riviera Drive on Cypress Drive. And I was like, oh my God, no wonder why we're soul sisters. Let me back up one other thing. When I first walked into the hotel, there were vendors in the lobby selling all kinds of jewelry and things like that. And I bought 2 crystal bracelets. One was rose quartz and the other was jade. And she said to me when I sat down, she goes, did you just buy those outside? And I said, I did. And she goes, look, I bought the same too. So Megan and I were definitely meant to meet. And she planted the seed about becoming a Reiki practitioner. And so it took a number of years to finally decide. I saw a transition in my company that I was working for. Business was a little precarious. We had a lot of layoffs. There were companies that wanted to buy us. We were selling off some divisions. And I just saw the writing on the wall that said, Susan, you better come up with a backup plan. And so I got certified as a health coach first in 2017. And then I got certified as a Reiki practitioner. And then I got certified as a meditation practitioner. Most people could figure out what a health coach is. It's someone like myself who's gotten certified, who knows a lot about food, not just food. When you're a health coach, it's a very, very big picture. And really, mostly as a health coach, some of the most important things is knowing how to listen to your client and ask very specific questions. Because what happens in a coaching session is a lot of times the client already knows what needs to be done to accomplish whatever the goal is that they come to you for, right? But by asking the right question, they give you the right answer. And I love health coaching. I really, really do. And that's how I started my career. And then when podcasting became very popular, I started thinking, if I started a podcast, that would be a great way for me to introduce myself as a health coach. And it's free advertising, and people will get to learn about what it is that I do, will get to know me and my style and my personality and what I'm all about. And you're not everyone's people, right? So some people will love me and other people will say, no, she's not for me. But it was a way of advertising. And what happened with my podcast is that I started to really love podcasting. And so I do still coach, but it's not my main focus of my business any longer. And Reiki is definitely still very much in line with who I am and what I do. And so I wanted to share a little bit more information with you about Reiki, because a lot of people are hearing about it. It's very mainstream now, more than it ever has been. But I want to share it with you and let you know what it's all about, right? Because it's transformative and it's a nurturing practice as well. And so whether you're hearing about Reiki for the first time or you've experienced it for yourself firsthand, what I'm about to tell you, it will really help you to understand what Reiki is, how it works, and also the incredible benefits that it could bring to your physical, your mental, and your emotional well-being. Also, I want to explain to you how Reiki is performed both virtually and in person. And the other thing I want to tell you about Reiki is that I perform Reiki on myself all the time, all the time. And it has changed my life. There are times in my life where I get very, very overwhelmed. I don't know what it is that brings it on. It could be anything. A lot of times, if I feel a little trapped, or if I feel like I'm doing something to make someone else happy, but it's not resonating with me and I'm not happy about it, but I feel bad, so I do it to make the other person happy. If I'm in that kind of a position, I will start to feel my body vibrating, literally vibrating. And I don't know if you've ever experienced that for yourself, but it's a very, for me, uncomfortable feeling because normally I'm very even toned. So when I start feeling that build up, I need to take a step back and I need to get into a quiet spot and I need to start doing Reiki on myself. So now let me tell you what Reiki is. It's a Japanese healing technique that's rooted in the belief that everything in the universe is made of energy, including our bodies. And that's why when I get upset or I feel trapped or I feel like I'm doing something that is not resonating with me, my energy ramps up and my body is vibrating. So the word Reiki translates to universal life energy. And the Rei, R-E-I, meaning universal, and Ki, meaning life force energy. So this life force flows within us, all of us, and also around us, influencing our physical health. It influences our emotions and even our spiritual connection. And when this energy flows freely, we feel balanced, we feel vibrant, and we're at peace. However, stress and trauma or illness will block or disrupt this flow. And that leads to an imbalance or a discomfort. Now, I don't know about everyone else, what your discomfort is, but for me, it's a vibrating feeling. I could feel my body vibrating. And Reiki works to clear those blocks, restore harmony, and encourage healing on all levels. So your emotional, your physical, and your spiritual level, right? So that's what it does. So how does it work? That's the thing that a lot of people are like, but how does it work? Well, Reiki practitioners, like myself, we act as channels for the universal energy from our hands, right? And our bodies. Reiki practitioners do not give away their own energy because that would deplete me and Reiki practitioners. Rather, we serve as conduits. We draw in Reiki energy from the universe and allow it to flow back to the recipient. Reiki is an intelligent energy. It knows where it's needed most, and it works to bring balance to those areas. I don't know where you need the energy. I just send it to you, and your body intuitively knows where to receive it. And the beauty of Reiki is that it doesn't require you to believe in the work. right? Even as the practitioner. It doesn't require you to be a big believer. It's not tied to a religion or a dogma, and it makes it accessible to anyone seeking healing or relaxation. So you may be wondering, all right, so what are the benefits of Reiki? And I want to tell you that Reiki offers a range of benefits. So, first and foremost, if you're stressed, it helps with reducing stress and it induces relaxation. Reiki actually calms the nervous system. So, when I'm vibrating like that and anxious, and I start doing this, it calms me right down. It's helping to release tension and it's promoting deep relaxation. And I'm breathing, I'm focusing on my breath. It enhances healing. So, whether you're recovering from an illness or a surgery or any kind of an injury, Reiki accelerates the body's natural healing process. Again, because the energy knows where to flow to, right? It helps with emotional balance. Reiki can help you process and release any type of stuck emotions, reducing feelings of anxiety, depression, or grief. And I think that's where it works best for me is when I'm feeling that I'm doing something to make someone else happy, but it doesn't resonate with me. I'm doing it against my will. And it may not be anything that's so terrible, but it's just not what I want. And I'm sacrificing myself to make someone else happy. And sometimes it doesn't bother me at all. And then other times it will have an effect on me. And if it has that effect on me, that's the way I begin to feel. So there's also a spiritual growth aspect of it as well. So Reiki can help you to feel, more connected to your inner self and also the world around you. It helps with pain relief. So many people report that they have reduced pain after a Reiki session, and the energy seems to soothe and relax the body. And so when you're more relaxed and you let go, sometimes the pain releases with it. It also has a calming effect on sleep. And it can lead to more restful sleep and a better quality of sleep, and also a deeper restorative sleep where you stay asleep for 7 or 8 hours, which is exactly what your body really needs. I do a lot of Reiki virtually. So let's talk about how it's performed in person and how it's performed virtually. So in person, during an in-person Reiki session, the client typically lies down and you're fully clothed on a massage table and you're in a quiet and very peaceful environment. And if I do it in my home, if I have someone come to my home, I'm playing some very soft, soothing music. Everything is quiet. And what I do is I just gently place my hands. I don't put my hands on anyone's body. Some do, I don't. I always am just above the body. And I'm focusing on specific areas where energy imbalances are detected. Now, I can't speak for all Reiki practitioners, but for me, I will get a sense of an imbalance in your body by a pulsating feeling in my palms or feeling the energy very intense in that spot. And then intuitively, I will either move my hands to try and break it up and move it out, or sometimes intuitively, I just feel that I need to stay there. So I'll move my hands to various positions, focusing on energy centers known as the chakras, right? So a lot of times, and again, it's intuitive. I may start, usually if I'm going to work on your chakras first, feeling that may be where we need to focus. And sometimes the client will tell me, I'm struggling with this or that, and that gives me an indication, right? And so I can start at the root chakra and I begin to feel if it's powerful, if it's weak. And I also, a lot of times, I hold a crystal pendulum and see which way it's spinning. And if it's spinning to the right, I know that it's a strong chakra and pretty much in alignment. Sometimes the pendulum won't move at all, and sometimes it may be spinning left. And then I know that needs to be worked on, right? And so it's intuitive, and you feel all of the energy in your hands. Some people will feel sensations of tingling or warm or a sense of calm. Others might experience a deep meditative state, or they may see colors and images. And each session is very unique to each client. And as Reiki works in the way the client needs it most at that time. So each session is unique. And as Reiki works in the way that the client needs it the most, I just get the sense of it. You know, it's a feeling, it's a sense. And then virtually is very, very fascinating. And it's one of the most fascinating aspects of Reiki because it can be performed virtually, thanks to the concept of energy transcending time and space, right? Just think about if you pray to God, where is God? And how does God hear your prayer, your desire? Where your tension goes, energy flows. So if you are looking to manifest goals for 2025, you think about those goals, you put them out to the universe, right? You just have to believe. You don't have to understand. You just need to believe. So energy transcends time and space. And distant Reiki works on the same principles as an in-person Reiki practitioner, right? The practitioner connects to the recipient energetically. And I will tell you that when I am doing a virtual session, I lay down crystals, one for each chakra, the 7 chakras, and the color corresponds with the chakra. And again, I am working up from the root to the crown. And I feel the blockages, I feel the energy, I hold my pendulum and it will perform the same way. It may go back, it may go forward, it may rock back and forth, and I get it into alignment. So during a virtual session, again, I ask my client to lie down comfortably in their home, and I just guide the client through a brief relaxation and meditation. And I do that in person as well, if I didn't say that, just to prepare you to receive the Reiki healing energy. And I use the intention and also the sacred Reiki symbols to direct healing energy to the client. And many of my clients, not many, all of them will report the same sensations: warmth, tingling, calm. Some will feel pain in a spot that may be very tender to them. So distant Reiki is really perfect for people who live far away, who can't get to a Reiki practitioner, maybe if they have mobility issues, or they prefer to receive Reiki in the comfort of their own space, in a quiet room where they're not disturbed. It's equally as powerful and as effective as any in-person session. It truly is. So all of this to say, first of all, I wanted to introduce myself to you because it's been a while and maybe you're new to my podcast. So I wanted you to get to know me better. I also wanted to come on to let you know that I have started doing group Reiki sessions, which is a lot more affordable to a lot of people than doing a one-on-one. And so I am doing these on Friday evenings. And originally I was doing only one session at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I did 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time so that my West Coast clients at 7 o'clock could be available for it. But I think what I'm going to do is do 2 sessions on a Friday night, one at 7 and one at 10. So you can choose which one you want. And it's a lot more affordable. And I'm going to put the link to it in the show notes, so you'll see that. And if you decide that you want to give Reiki a try, I'm making it super affordable for you to be in a group session. It will be on Zoom. It's a virtual session on Zoom. You could turn your camera off. No one will see you. No one knows where you're lying, what your room looks like. It could be totally private. And it will go for about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. It depends on the amount of people on the Zoom, and it just depends on each session will be different. So in closing, I just wanted you to know that I am offering that. And I want to again remind you that Reiki is a gentle yet profound form of healing that reminds us that we're all deeply connected to the energy of the universe. That's the bottom line. It's the bottom line. Where your attention goes, energy flows. So whether you're looking for stress release or emotional balance, physical healing in some way, maybe you're suffering with some kind of an ailment or illness, Reiki can be that powerful tool on your wellness journey. And I encourage you to try Reiki, right? If maybe you don't resonate with who I am, so then find your person. But if it sounds like something you'd like to try and you'd like to try it virtually, I'm offering it to you at a very inexpensive cost to you. And it's a wonderful experience. And it's an experience that you really need to experience for yourself at least once. It's a beautiful practice. It really is. It offers healing, not only for the body, but also for your mind and your spirit. And think about it, especially in today's world, who doesn't need some kind of healing physically, emotionally, spiritually? Everything is so chaotic. Everything seems to be so dark and tragic these days. I'm offering you a way to learn a different way. And that's what Reiki could do for you. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart. Please be sure to follow me here. Please share this episode out with anyone who you think could benefit from this episode, learning about Reiki, or maybe who's been curious about Reiki. Share it with them. Make sure that you follow me here. And until the next time, I just want to say be well, stay happy, and bye for now. Take good care, everyone.